Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another Wargame Red Dragon replay. I'm fighting against a buddy of mine, Vimes, who is very capable, and he's fielding today a force from the US of A, and I am fielding a relatively new and somewhat experimental Dutch deck. So, basic strategies on my end are to push Bravo, see if I can push Foxtrot, secure Golf, and then basically deny him that half of the field. And hopefully, if I can squabble over Foxtrot hard enough and maybe push toward his way in Golf, that will get me somewhere. So the initial forces are relatively diverse. We have some infantry, we also have an ATGM vehicle, and a Cheetah Prandtl, which is a radar AA piece headed up toward Bravo. We're going to secure Bravo, maybe see about securing through the woods here to pressure Charlie and Foxtrot from the sides. We also have an AH-64 escort, which is itself a 65-point rocket and gun helicopter. Might be slightly overcosted in my experience, but it is still very capable, leading the way toward Gulf, and behind we have our whole infantry force. So far so good, and we catch sight of the enemy, but here's the issue. We have the MH-60L DAP, which is a dedicated anti-air helicopter, which is taking out the AH-64 escort quite well, and I'm going to lose that. We also have more helicopters moving up, and they are about to absolutely blast us with several heavy hogs. Now here's the thing. In deck building, you have to make choices, and one of the choices I made was to put my AA infantry in AMX Prees, which are slow, as opposed to the YP408s, which move at 150 kilometers per hour road speed and 80 kilometers per hour off-road speed. So my AA infantry is not in position. I haven't moved my Cheetah Prandtl up far enough because it's still trying to reach, and there's about 100 points worth of helicopters destroying 200 points or 300 points worth of infantry push that had been intended to secure Gulf. Now on the eastern side, I think we did miss it here a little bit, but things go far better. Verploeg managing to get several kills using that 1925 meter range gun, and our Leopard Verkenning is doing very excellently, supported by the YPR as well. Nope, here's the skirmish. So we take aim at the combat, see what we can do, and tank firing in. Leopard Verkennings are very, very capable. Here we're moving up the Cheetah Prandtl, trying to get a little bit of support, see if we can take those guys out. The Stinger teams are firing, but they unfortunately come under immediate fire from the DAP and Heavy Hog and miss their shot with their panic. Verploeg barely managing to survive. We've killed now, I think, a couple units of infantry over here, which is at least okay. And I'm seeing this and I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, if I can't hold this town, then they're going to push directly through to Echo, and I'm going to lose Alpha. So I'm calling in infantry, I'm setting up a contingency plan in Echo, and, well, hopefully we'll stay alive there as well. So we have taken out the combat. We do have light riflemen taking fire from multiple positions, which is good for us, and I send an AH-64 escort over the top, gets immediately taken out by my opponent's very nicely placed anti-air. Now, we were able to finally take out those helicopters with our Cheetah Prandtl, but we are taking heavy fire from an M55 1A1 Sheridan, as well as several probably IFVs, yes, Humvees with their 50 cals, and some infantry. So my only hope for those Grenadiers is to have them no longer be visible. My Verploeg have actually used most of their missiles. This is going to happen pretty often. They're dedicated fire support, which means that they can fire on infantry targets as well as enemy armor. It means they burn through things rather quickly. And here, if we take a look at the neutral, my opponent should have pushed me, because if you look right now, he has US Marines, Rangers, Light Riflemen, several Humvees, and a Sheridan, as well as a Pivot, and I'm securing this position with nothing but Grenadiers and a Cheetah Prandtl, but he doesn't, and that's a problem. I think part of that is because he is a little bit worried about how far toward Charlie I'm moving at the moment. We do take out some of his Humvees. I think they had infantry. Yep, they had infantry inside them. Of course, we do lose the Pratt as well. I think those are probably Light Riflemen. And now we are getting some good use out of something a little bit strange, the F-84F rocket plane. Not the best rockets, not the best things like that, but we do manage to take out several things here, and I think this is what slows down my opponent. If we take a look, we did take out his anti-air, now he's worried about moving up without support, and that is a very valid, if somewhat misplaced in this instance, worry. So let's speed things up a little bit again, and these are just very cheap 25-point autocannon carrying scout vehicles, and I like them quite a bit. I find that they are generally pretty good. I am bringing up resupply because our Leopard was nearly killed and we have an AH-1J Cobra that's just sort of scouting things out. This was a bit of a, we both hit each other's front lines a little bit. He won over in Gulf, I won over in Foxtrot Bravo Charlie, western versus eastern sides of the map, and I see that Humvee coming over the top and realize a little bit too late that my artillery piece has actually moved up way too far, and I'm trying to definitely make an air presence known with the F-84Fs. They don't get the most kills, but sometimes they're enough to slow my opponent down, and here I'm worried that he is definitely moving up, trying to push that position. So here come more rocket planes firing in at combats. Not too good damage there. It's not really their intended target to take on armor. Combats don't have the most armor, but 3 front, 3 side, 1 back, 1 top will stop some lighter incoming missiles. So combat here, and I think, okay, he's securing these woods probably as well, and I'm being basically encircled in that side of Gulf. And the rocket planes are basically intended to be a distraction for him at this point. We do kill a combat with them, which is actually kind of nice. I think we hit through the top armor that time instead of the front. And there is definitely some benefit to having that sort of nagging presence, right? Where your opponent's just a little bit off guard. And let's take a quick look up here. This cheetah Brandel is very much in a bad position, and our grenadiers are getting pushed by light riflemen and a combat. But here comes the counterattack. So grenadiers and Stuttruppen moving across open ground. This is strictly to draw the attention of the combat that I knew was over there. So he's going to fire at the first thing that he sees, unless my opponent manually targets, which I didn't think he was going to. And my YPRs, meanwhile, move up, and ordinarily they'd lose against a combat, although it would be a pretty decent fight, but they are able to take him out since he's distracted. That nets us 30 points right here, and the damaged grenadiers are, not even 10 points lost quite yet. Second combat firing in is able to put pressure on the infantry we have holding that front. Not much happening on the eastern side, so we'll zoom back in. And these things are very interesting, very powerful support pieces. 1925 range against ground is excellent, particularly with the rate of fire that they possess. Unfortunately for my opponent, he's unwilling, well, actually, let's see. Yeah, he's unwilling to move up the Sheridan. That probably would have helped. The Rangers, I understand the reluctance, and Humvees would lose against YPRs, so that's a fine choice. And now he's getting a little bit outside of his comfort zone for being able to push us out. And if we take a look here, I think this was also a bit of a mistake. So we have Chaparral, Pivads, all of this stuff coming out well over 200 points in dedicated anti-air, and all of that is meant to shut down rocket planes that are, well, not really that strong. I'm also bringing up a Leopard for Kenning, and now we can see a lot of what my opponent has. He has Rangers, he has a combat, I know roughly where the Sheridan is, I see the Chaparral, and don't manage to quite kill it, which is a bit of an issue because that was a Block 15, very expensive plane. But we are putting fire on the Rangers, which are his eyes in the region. So we take him out, very nice. I think I do, yep, we lose the F-84F, but that tells me just how much AA he has in the region, so further salvos will not be the most safe. And our Leopard for Kenning is now getting good shots, this is what we want. There's a helicopter over here that I don't know what that is, Heavy Hog, and I don't recall what happens to him actually. I think I move up the Prandtl. Really can't tell. Oh, YPR might take him. No, doesn't look like it. But the Leopard is now dueling out this Sheridan, and he will win. Yep, there it is. 2 frontal armor is not enough, and for Kenning, lightly armored itself at 8, will be able to win that fight pretty handily. So let's go back up a little bit quicker again, and we have, yep, the Kenning shooting in. Pretty bad accuracy because of the panic, so if we see that's dropped down to 40%, and he does take a frontal shot from the Sheridan, yep, there comes a Cheetah Prandtl up there, kills the Heavy Hog. We do, I think, also kill... Nope, he's right there. Oh, that's a Pivads. Yep, we killed the other Sheridan. And first shot's a miss. Can't land second. YPR is bringing more infantry up, and we're starting to get a bit more secure on that western flank, which suits me just fine. Leopard for Kenning gets taken out from an ATGM, but we get a little bit of revenge. I lose another rocket plane, but that's fine. It was to bring in a seaplane, take out the Pivads, which we did do. So, bit of a mixed bag in that engagement, really. We have some good kills, but we also lose a fair bit. And that was Super Cobra, so what you saw were actually seed missiles coming out of a helicopter, of all things. So, pretty interesting there. And my opponent has secured Charlie, and I'm going to start looking for that real soon with my Lance artillery piece. Stuttruppen find US Marines. It's not a fight that they're really cut out for, although, I mean, shock training and a mini-me is very nice, don't get me wrong, but yeah, they're stunned, they're outdone by the support, and I try to help. We do in fact take out one of the groups of US Marines, but we lose another rocket plane. It's not really that bad of a trade, 50-point rocket plane that had already gotten some value against a 30-point unit of US Marines. I'm bringing in some Leopards, some heavier front to push toward Foxtrot, which will happen hopefully pretty soon, and this recon helicopter was just pushing up to see, okay, there was anti-air here before, I don't see it now, and it's not taking out my relatively cheap recon helicopter. So that tells me, okay, well, maybe I can bring in something else. Turns out to be a mistake, but we'll see that in just a minute. And let's speed through a little bit of this. More Leopards coming up. My opponent's light rifleman actually doing a pretty good job here, getting some poke damage in on my forces, but not quite good enough. Not really expecting, I think, the combined arms of the CMV and the Leopard. So we fire in and miss. We don't, in fact, take out a command vehicle in Charlie with that shot. That was coming out of the, I mean, one of the biggest HE artillery pieces in the game. And now our Grenadiers, US Marines, there's a whole lot of skirmishing going on in Gulf. I push up a 64 Escort and a 64 TD. This is a massive mistake. I lose basically 200 points worth of stuff. I see the one helicopter die, I pull the other one back. We get a couple nice pokes off the Hellfires, but yep, there's the second shot, and down goes 190 or so points of helicopters. Very expensive mistake. But it does also kind of tell me, well, he might not have much on the ground. Maybe there's something I can do with that. We lose a Leopard for Kenning over on this side to light riflemen of all things, so very, very bad for us in that regard. And I'm starting to feel like this is turning into a bit of a quagmire. My opponent is up 66 points. Sorry, I'm up 66 points to his 0, but none of us really can get a secure grip on things in the center, and I've neglected to send a command vehicle over to Bravo, which will come back to bite me, I'm sure. Bradley IFVs, Combats, and here come the Leopard 1Vs. These are 55-point, relatively cavalry tank-ish like deals, so they're pretty quick. They hit pretty hard for 55 points, but again, bad frontal armor, and a Leopard for Kenning would have made this into a comprehensive push, but I think that my opponent is not expecting this. So here comes a Sheridan, and some of these other support vehicles. I'm setting up a PWI just to draw fire. And of course we do get some nice shots in from the Rangers. Get a fair number of kills, pushing my opponent back, and we just missed it, but that crater right there, right here, is where my opponent's command vehicle previously was and is no longer. So we've knocked him off of Charlie. This puts us back at a +2 ticking, which is pretty good, and we're pushing up in Foxtrot, which, you know, so I think, okay, we've gotten into a bit of a quagmire, we've managed to turn it around a little bit, but taking a bit more of fire here, and I move up too far. So my Leopard 1Bs in the front are taking significant damage, and despite being able to kill off some of his reinforcing chaparrals, US Marines get a little bit too close, and those AT weapons are going to be absolutely brutal, combined with the AH-1W Super Cobra. Nothing I really have anything prepared for. Now we do lose another rocket plane, but it got another cheeky kill on US Marines, so nearly getting its value back. It's not exactly what you want, but it's better than nothing. And I hide the other Leopard 1V over on the side. I've also moved up some scout infantry, and now we can see an HA Abrams, a Chaparral, and a couple of transports. And my opponent should have moved his tank when he saw this, because that HA Abrams is in the woods. It should be blinking on his screen for hidden, just like my hidden units are as well. And as soon as I get vision, it'll turn solid. So the fact that HA Abrams is solid means that I've spotted it, and that is horrible, horrible, horrible for my opponent. We go in again, just sort of looking for CVs in Delta. Bit of a cheap move, but if you haven't tried the M752 Lance, well, you should. So we lose a couple transports. Oh wait, I lost KCT? Where was that? I don't remember this. Yes. I try to do a bit of a cheeky flank there with some paratroopers, but that was a waste of points, as such things often are. Still, had he neglected to do anything with his anti-air base defense, I would have been in a spot of trouble. So we have Humvees moving up, and spotted and killed by the remaining Leopard that he probably didn't know was there. Losing more infantry to that is something that makes me quite happy. Well, for him to lose more infantry, I suppose, is the more full thought there. And, okay, let's take a look. The lance is firing again. We're in a bit of a stalemate, so I'll speed things up to even to 3. I secure Bravo, and this forces my opponent to have to do something. Cheetah Prandle, these AA vehicles are actually pretty good against infantry and installation. I also have a 2A1NL to back us up. Vrocht destroyed. Okay, here comes another. Do I get it? No. That's unfortunate. Okay, here comes the reinforcements. We have light riflemen coming in. Well, Verplug, I think, coming in there. No, well, yes. More infantry, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can turn this flank into a bit of a rout. If I can get eyes on the Abrams, I can maybe get a bit of a kill that's unexpected on the Abrams, but I need something else to back that up. I'm also a little worried about, well, my opponent trying some revenge for that flanking attempt, so I do move up scout vehicles and scout helicopters, as well as a Cheetah Prandle for base defense, just to be safe rather than sorry. So he does move his Super Cobra back as I start trying to hunt for it, and now we have Grenadiers, Verplug in the woods, and I see that. I saw that command vehicle get moved in there. My opponent has secured Golf, but I saw that. I know roughly how far he moved from how long he was driving after entering that zone. And my Block 15, unfortunately, doesn't get a kill on the HA Abrams. It does get most of one, though, and that will be helpful later on. So one missile made contact through relatively thick frontal armor of 20. Fire again and miss into Charlie, but this is again sort of just the in the middle of the fight. Neither one of us wants to make a move if we don't have to. My opponent, by securing Foxtrot, has forced me into a bad position. I'm losing one score a second. The lost Cheetah Prandle was kind of expected to happen eventually. He was too close to the front lines without support for far too long. It's actually kind of a wonder that he lasted that long at all. I think that was my opponent's seaplane, or maybe I think he sent in a bomber at one point that I didn't see, so I'm not quite sure. And this, so the AH-1J Cobra sees my CNV, but that was kind of intentional, and I have a Cheetah Prandle moving up that will support. US Marines are still there, but only one group instead of 2, which is kind of more or less okay. I always talk way too fast in these, and I notice it during the cleanup, but I am no Stealth 17, so I do the best that I can, and I have to be content with that. Another missile going in, 752 Lance, but another miss, and it hasn't occurred to me, well, I think it did actually. I think this is inside my minimum range, which is really kind of unfortunate, because I really wanted that kill, and I can't quite get it. Deep breath. Okay. So I'm calling up a Prat, which is an ATGM vehicle. Pretty good for the point cost. I think it's 50 or 60 points. And here it comes. So we have UH-14s landing Corps Mariner 95. These things come with C7 carbines, one of the best primary weapons in the game, AT4s, which are some of, in my opinion, the best secondaries in the game, and a Mini-Me, which is hands down either first or second most damage dealing tertiary in the game. And these guys are going to move up and cause absolute havoc. Now they're not recon, they're not KCT, and I should have probably put a unit KCT to go with them, but I used what I could with the points I had available. Leopard 2A1NL also moving up, and I'm attempting to push through the woods on that side, as well as moving up some Verplug to hopefully get a kill on the HA Abrams. Now, Pivads and a Chaparral immediately kill my UH-14s, but we got this vision on the US Marines, and that will come back to bite them as the YPRs open up, stun the Marines, and get some good damage going in. Also, more reinforcements coming up with the YPR here. That is drawing too much ATGM fire, so I step out the Stoop Trooperman, and we see what we can do. Verplug nearly reaching their destination, and okay. Corps Mariners are in the woods. Look at all that supporting fire. Those US Marines never stood a chance. Unfortunately, some good return fire coming in that way. And let's take a look. Here's another shot coming in. And nearly dead Sheridan. Nothing else really going on there. And so I think to myself, okay, I can move up through these woods, I can ambush through that side, but there's a lot over there. I'm not sure I can make a lot out of that. So what to do instead? By the way, the Corps Mariners absolutely doing yeoman's work against the US Marines. Oh, those poor guys. Yeah, ouch. Once you're that panicked, you're not going to fight well against the lead infantry. It's just not going to happen. Okay, Verplugs did get the... no. Yes, they got one kill against the HA Abrams, I believe. Or nope, actually comes from Prat. instead of the HA Abrams. I think there was resupply, but yep, we get the kill there. And the Corps Mariners moving up through the woods, spot a Humvee, and I think to myself, okay, I am not going to be able to push through there. Let's go around. Losing the YPRs is kind of not the biggest deal at this point. I need to get behind those lines, I need to take out command vehicles, I need to resecure some positions here, or I will be in a lot of trouble. Corps Mariners getting an excellent side shot there and intercepting a second group of Marines pretty well. So one of them is down, we take out both of their support, and now it's 2 Corps Mariner against 1 US Marines. Heavy Hog and a couple of reinforcing helicopters taken out by Cheetah Prandtl on the high ground, and a Bradley CFE that was running. That Bradley, by the way, not necessarily a blunder by my opponent. It was meant to follow up on the US Marines and support them, but he didn't count on the Corps Mariners being able to shoot through the US Marines, and was looking at a couple other things, namely hiding everything in Charlie when that was going on. So the Charlie distraction definitely did get me a fair amount of benefit. And unfortunately my Corps Mariners here are getting stunned, they're getting panicked, and they're not going to be that accurate with their secondary weapon. But the Corps Mariners on this side are having, well, quite a jolly time. So they're moving through, and I have no idea where my opponent's command vehicle is, but it is unfortunately getting him rather close to tying up the game and or winning it. So, Corps Mariners, unfortunately, not able to survive there, but here we do manage to get into a town, and this is actually kind of goofy because my opponent and I were watching the replay after this. I had just kind of guessed with the artillery piece with the lance at where I thought it might possibly be, and sure enough, kaboom. Oh, that's beautiful. So we actually debated if that was the Corps Mariner or the Lance, because he thought it was the Corps Mariner, I thought it was the Lance. The Lance got there ever so slightly before the Corps Mariner were able to fire. Now I think to myself, okay, they've been seen, they've been spotted, they're going to get attacked. I can either go forward, which is probably into reinforcements, or I can come back and try and get some kills. So I wanted to come back and try and get some kills. It kind of works, it kind of doesn't. Cheetah Prandtl, supported by the 2A1NL, does stop a tank of my opponents moving up and getting some good revenge. We do lose the Verploeg as the HA Abrams on this side. A new one opens up and is able to take out quite a bit of my equipment. My opponent's heavy tanks have really done him pretty well here, I think, in this game, which is a marked improvement, because usually we have a... Ooh. Ah! My 2A4 did take him out, though. So 145 point tank killing 140 or so point tank, but not being able to escape from some light riflemen, which is a blunder on my part. My Corps Mariner get ambushed and killed, my Astute Troopin die, and with 6 minutes left I have a lead of 43 points, so it's pretty down to the wire. And, well, long story short, we're going to speed this up to 4, but not much is happening at the moment. I'm trying to gather forces again for another push. I want to push from here, but I don't want to do it isolated. I want to do it both at the same time. I bring in more Corps Mariner, and I'm expecting the same trick to work twice, which my opponent, well, does not allow. Well, I guess I kind of ruined it a little bit there, but, well, you'll see for yourselves in just a second. So I'm trying to make the same move across these woods with the Corps Mariner and the UH-14s over the top. My Corps Mariner gets stunned briefly, my Leopard has no angle of fire, and this is just absolutely brutal. Light riflemen, all of that supporting fire, including shots from the M1A1 Abrams just coming in and wrecking my men completely. So that fails pretty hard that time, even though the last Corps Mariner were able to get basically quadruple their worth by doing the same thing. Now, there's a lot of stuff right here, and I had no bombers, so I was sitting there looking at it going, how much I wish I had just a cheap 40-50 point iron bomber. A couple small bombs would have been absolutely amazing. Now, he does push up too far, and we are starting to punish for it, so if we take a look here back at neutral, most of the support there has been lost. I get Astute Troopin around the side, which will be hopefully unexpected, and this is my counterattack. Or at least, well, hopefully it's my counterattack. Astute Troopin moving up, Corps Mariner jumping the gap again, this time supported by the 2A1NL, but it's not soon enough. And my YPR and Astute Troopin back there are a little bit out of place as well. We do get a good kill here and take out the Rangers, and these US Marines and Light Riflemen are being ambushed pretty well, but it's not enough to crack those front lines, even if I want it to be. Although, I mean, they're doing good work. My opponent's trying to desperately counter this with helicopters that are being absolutely wrecked by a single solitary cheetah Prandtl that he isn't able to kill. I bring more infantry up around, hoping to shoot the gap again and exploit that, but, well, no dice. Or at least not in time. So we've cleared him out from everything in this section. I could kind of feel that at this point because, well, I'd stopped taking as much incoming enemy fire, but I need to kill not just one at this point, but two of his command positions, so I move forward with everything. We have the Riploid, Grenadiers, and AMX Prees moving up on this side, supported, of course, as much as possible by fire support over here, but it's been mostly taken out. My opponent did a pretty good job in that regard. Leopard 2A1 moving up the center, but yeah, it's kind of a whoever attacks loses game at that point in that region. And yeah, so Golf is secure, 20 seconds left in the game, and I just can't do it. So, very nice game to my opponent, very well played. We've been playing a bit of a series, and it was nice to be on the receiving end as well. It makes you learn something. And what I learned this time around, looking at those kills and losses, is that that's not the end of the game there. Those kills and losses. A lot of my kills were on his helicopter reinforcements there at the end, and they were too little, too late. I mean, that offensive at the end was probably points efficient, but not positionally efficient, and could not salvage the game that I had already lost by positioning alone. Standout units, Cheetah Prandtl did wonderful things. Leopard Verkenning did very well. The Prots did okay. 60 points, yeah, it's probably worth it, but maybe not by a ton. The F-84F rocket planes did alright. Leopard 1, these. Jeez, so 55-point tanks, look at that. That is quite a kill list. Riploid 95 doing pretty well. Corps Mariners, the ones that had a good day, had a good day. The ones that didn't, very much didn't. And, well, that's all we got for right now. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.